That theme song.
Oh, well, that's just
The news van.
on the streets of Philadelphia.
The anchors, reporters, the most trusted name in local news, celebrates 5 decades of delivering you the big story. Join the Action News team along with special guests as we remember how it all got started. We're opening the vault to relive the moments that made Action News part of the fabric of Philadelphia. The 1-hour special, 50 years of Action News, starts now.
I'm Jim Gardner, and I've had the great privilege and pleasure of calling Action News home for 44 years. I arrived in Philadelphia in 1976. It was the year of the bicentennial and 6 years into a new experiment that started right here. As Action News anchor Rick Williams tells us, it is described as a Hail Mary move that would forever change local television news.
But the big story on Action News.
With those words, Action News debuted on April 6th, 1970.
With Larry Kane, Bill White, and Frank Davis.
It was quite a team.
And a revolutionary new format.
Before that, news was kind of slow and humdrum.
We were more vibrant, more filled with action.
They did serious news, but they also had personality.
Let us talk about a big cold dude.
The name, legend holds, was the brainchild of the station's then general manager, George Kohler.
We saw a billboard that said, I think, Action Plumbing.
And it clicked. He said, that's it, Action News.
Along with the big story, there were lots of little ones dubbed tickies.
It had to do with tick-tock of a clock.
They were, 15 seconds, 20 seconds long.
It could be a backyard festival. It could be an event at a school.
And real people out on the street had more of a voice in as many communities as possible.
They were very proud of the fact that they had a higher story count than anyone else.
For what was then WPVI-TV, it was a desperate gamble to emerge from the TV ratings basement.
WFIL was number 4, so it was 3, 6, 10. We fell behind Wee Willie Weber and his cartoons.
That's no joke.
The station invested heavily in marketing the new format.
And they did research. The number one reason that people liked the newscast was that it was everywhere. 1 year later, we were number 1.
I still have photos from a dinner that we had celebrating. It was unimaginable, quite honestly.
Just days later, the station was sold. Capital Cities was the new parent company, and WFIL became WPVI. With new technology, Action News reporters started going live in the field in 1975.
It was an opportunity to say, hey, look over here, here's what's happening.
I had to speed up my game a whole lot.
Vernon Odom started his career here in the spring of 1976.
Vernon Odom, I think, was the best political reporter on any television station in the history of Philadelphia television.
A few weeks after I got here, Jim Gardner came.
And it was a gleeful moment.
When Jim first came, he anchored the noon show.
But then, in 1977, Larry Kane left Action News for New York.
Everybody thought things were not going to be as good when Larry left.
Larry Pollock, who was the general manager of this television station, came up with this harebrained idea. Why don't we give it to this young kid who's just been here for a year?
But the big story on Action News.
When Jim Gardner took over, our numbers got stronger.
In 1980, it was the most watched newscast in the country.
Mark Howard came to Action News in 1977.
Some important discussions in the nation's capital today.
Followed by Lisa Thomas Laurie in 78.
I thought I had died and gone to heaven.
When Lisa was doing the noon and they paired her with Chris Wagner, that was the first time that 2 women had anchored a newscast.
Through the years, we've lost some good friends.
Jim O'Brien, Channel 6's beloved weatherman.
But we've also expanded our newscasts and welcomed new members to the Action News family.
Look at how good you look.
Technology has changed a lot since that first Action News broadcast.
We can shoot with our telephones today better quality video than we were shooting back then.
And I'm proud of the fact that whether it was Skycam or a helicopter or drones, we've been on the forefront of using those advances to help tell better stories.
For the first nearly 4 decades, our home was a round building right on City Avenue.
The building was iconic and cool looking from the outside, and we just outgrew it.
Producers and EPs will be right in here.
In 2008, we toured what would soon be our new state-of-the-art building right next door.
I think it's a definite upgrade.
And in it, we're keeping the Action News tradition alive.
The magnitude of the success of Action News, I think, is far greater than Philadelphians realize.
People know about Action News all over the country.
As you have no doubt noticed, every newscast begins with the big story on Action News. Here is a look back at some of the people and some of the events that have led our newscasts over the decades. From the very beginning, Frank Rizzo has been one of the big stories on Action News. First as police commissioner, then two-term mayor, his brash law and order style divided the city along racial lines.
Philadelphia politics was tumultuous. Frank Rizzo. Frank was bombastic and everything else, and controversial.
This casino is now open.
We went down the shore for the legalization of gambling.
I covered the first casino to open in Atlantic City, and that was Memorial Day, 1978.
3 Mile Island near Harrisburg was the scene of the nation's worst nuclear mishap.
Rob Jennings is in Harrisburg tonight. Rob, can you add anything from your perspective right now?
Jim, it's been a very harrowing day here. I would say the mood is sullen at this hour.
A valve ruptured, and you hear a great big psh.
We were sweating bullets there for a while. That could have been a real disaster.
It was a badge of courage to go up there.
And we were in Powelton Village for the first of 2 deadly confrontations between Philadelphia police and the Black Liberation Group MOVE.
God bless Philadelphia.
We closed the decade with the biggest live event Action News had ever covered to that point, the visit to Philadelphia by Pope John Paul II in 1979.
Viva el Papa! Viva el Papa! God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. And I, too, have just experienced the Pope.
In the 1980s, Action News gave viewers a front row seat to Philadelphia's rough and tumble politics, the brawl at City Hall. And of course, we were there for the election of the city's first black mayor, Wilson Goode.
All of us working together can solve the problem facing our city.
But Goode's legacy was forever marred by the second move clash in Cobb's Creek on Mother's Day, 1985.
I knew it was going to be massive death and destruction. I could sense it. I could feel it out there.
The 1980s also featured mob wars, triggered by the gangland murder of mob boss Angelo Bruno.
I had never seen anything like this in my life. I can still visualize that scene.
The big story in February 1991 was the blaze that broke out on the 22nd floor of One Meridian Plaza, right across from Philadelphia City Hall.
They had a complete failure of all the fire protection systems and the electricity to the building, which allowed the fire to spread.
I remember hearing that there were firefighters inside that were trapped, and I just remember the feeling of doom and gloom.
Parents are certainly holding their children a little tighter tonight in the wake of what happened.
2 months later, we had multiple crews covering the tragic mid-air collision over Marion Elementary School that killed 7 people, including 2 children on the ground.
Senator John Hines among the 3 victims in the plane.
Delegates and my fellow citizens, I proudly accept your nomination.
The Republican National Convention was the big story when it came to town in the summer of 2000.
This is our broadcast booth.
Now let's go out and make it happen together.
Then we covered the Democratic Convention in 2016. And on a May night in 2015, it was the deadly derailment of a speeding Amtrak train in Port Richmond.
It was like a scene from a movie.
In speaking with officials here, working the scene here at the hospital, we're learning that they really just couldn't take anymore.
The thing about breaking news is you don't know how it will develop, but what you do know is you stick with it.
To be that close to the pontiff.
For 2 days that fall, the entire Action News team came together to cover the visit to Philadelphia by Pope Francis for the church's World Meeting of Families. But the biggest story in Action News history may well be happening right now.
Biggest story I've ever covered is pandemic, without question.
I had gone through 9/11. I had gone through wars in Iraq and Bosnia, but never anything like this.
No justice, no peace.
And in the midst of our deadly pandemic, mass protests and violent unrest over the death of George Floyd while in police custody.
Miseducation of black people is violence. Not giving people opportunities to work is violence.
Frank Rizzo's being loaded up
And 50 years later, Frank Rizzo is still a big story. His statue recently removed from its perch near City Hall, and his mural in South Philadelphia erased by a coat of paint. And we'll look at the big stories we've covered nationally and internationally just a little later.
It's insane!
Coming up, we relive some of our favorite sports moments and remember a dear friend.
Happy 50th Action News. I'm Anita Brickman, and I'm so grateful I got to spend 13 years there with the Action News team as both a health reporter and a news anchor. This is probably the best news team in the country, and I can still remember being out covering stories and hearing someone yell out, "There goes that Action News van again."
Tug live at the vet now, and let's talk about the Cubs. Here's a, hey Tug. Tug McGraw. We're here, Tug. Can you hear me, Tug? Oh, yeah. Tug.
Welcome back to 50 Years of Action News. In Philadelphia, there are plenty of times when the big story is a sports story. With the most passionate fan base in the country, there are disappointments and there are some very sweet memories. As sports director Deuces Rogers shows us, we've been there for all of it.
Over 50 years, Action News Sports has covered the good, the bad, and the downright strange.
The fog ball, the fog out of London, it just descended.
We were there in 1980 when the Phillies won their first World Series championship. And we traveled to a very cold Minnesota in 2018.
It's -5.
As the Eagles won their first Super Bowl.
That was a tremendous run.
To know that it had never happened before in this crazy football town, and here I was getting to cover it.
The celebration continued 4 days later up Broad Street and down the Parkway.
There was so much passion to celebrate the Eagles' first Super Bowl championship.
In 1985, it was tiny Villanova winning the school's first national championship.
Still the lowest seed ever to win a national championship.
How was the parade? It's awesome.
Villanova added 2 more titles in 2016 and 2018, and we walked alongside Jay Wright as he took in the moment.
Is that what you ever dreamed, Coach? All the viewers got to experience that with me, and I will never forget that. That was so special.
A slew of personalities has graced the locker rooms in this town.
We're talking about practice.
From Allen Iverson to Charles Barkley.
Thank God for guys like Charles Barkley that say what's on their mind.
The 93 Phillies had an entire cast of characters.
It was a great team.
Fo 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 was just one of the memorable quotes from the 76ers' 83 championship squad.
Moses didn't say a whole lot. He just tried to contribute.
Led by Moses Malone, Maurice Cheeks, and Dr. J.
It was absolutely beautiful.
We were there as new stadiums opened.
It's insane.
Thank you, Gary. A new season, a new stadium.
And old haunts went down. We got in the cage with young stars.
Oh!
And said goodbye to Philadelphia legends. In 2009, history was made in Chester.
A brand new professional sports team.
We hit the pitch for the Philadelphia Union's inaugural season. We've met countless local athletes who prove the impact sports have beyond the professional ranks.
Kevin Groh, he had Down syndrome. He drains a three-point. He's so uplifting for so many people. Good job, Kevin. Good job.
But the Phillies' 2008 run to a World Series might be the most captivating story.
Nothing can top that. The city was so starved for a championship at that point.
It was Philadelphia's first title in more than 20 years.
Get greedy.
Champagne stings the eyes, but boy, is it ever sweet, right?
And the parade that followed was a true celebration.
Jim and Gary anchored our coverage, and they had Jamie Moyer sitting down with them saying, "I watched you guys when I grew up. I love Action News."
Covering the 2008 Phillies was a gift for Gary Papa.
Gary, as sick as he was, got to be there every step of the way, and he was such a Phillies fan and wanted it so badly, and I wanted it for him.
Gary came to Action News from Buffalo a few years after Jim Gardner and Dave Roberts.
They used to refer to us the Buffalo Mafia. He was from Buffalo, Jim worked in Buffalo, I was from Buffalo.
Gary quickly became part of the Philadelphia sports landscape.
It was a magical experience working with Gary.
He always looked for the humanity in the stories that he did.
His passion evident in his storytelling.
Gary just wore his heart on his sleeve about every aspect of his life.
His talent difficult to describe.
He doesn't have these scripts. They're just pieces of paper with scribbles on it.
He wrote one word on a page in Sharpie.
He wanted to be reacting to what he was seeing on the screen and deliver that as he was delivering the highlights.
His ability to make people comfortable was a gift.
My first live shot, I remember Gary calling me beforehand, wishing me luck and saying, "You got this."
And when the biggest challenge of his life arose,
Gary is beginning treatment for prostate cancer. It was diagnosed back in August.
That comforting personality shined even brighter.
He wanted to share what he was going through with viewers, hoping that it would help someone.
I love you people.
Gary worked right up until the end.
When it was his time to do his sports, he would like flick a switch and the brilliant Gary Papa would come through.
And when it ended, it was a very sad day for Action News and for Philadelphia.
It is a chair that will never really be filled.
I still get emotional when I think about that because it's hard to believe that he wasn't going to be in that chair anymore.
I lost a friend. Philadelphia lost an icon.
His legend is carried on.
As much as he taught me about hard work, it was also about having passion for what you do, and that's how you become good at what you do.
I think about him and miss him every single day.
He was a great friend.
We're taking our jobs very seriously, but we don't take ourselves very seriously, and that's a common denominator from this whole place. We think of ourselves not as something separate from the community, but an extension of the community.
It was quite a time for me working with Gary Papa and Dave Roberts.
And now that we've lost you completely,
we remember another legend lost too soon, and some major weather events when 50 years of Action News comes right back.
Hi, everybody. Don Pollock here. Well, I guess I don't need this anymore. I mean, I'm stuck in the house just like everybody else. Maybe you remember the stories I used to do for Action News. And I still watch Action News. And I want to tell you, it's an honor to be part of the 50th anniversary of an institution that has meant so much to so many people's lives over the past half century. So much so that we can do this again in another 50 years. How's that? Who's in? Who's in? Mark it down on your calendar so you don't...
Present temperature reading 74, humidity 46%, the barometer 30.06. It's steady winds out of the west at 7 miles per hour. Water temperature has slipped to 60 degrees in the northeast. I forgot to put them up there. Thanks a lot, guys. Let me tell you, it's all in the mid 70 degree range. A little bit of help from my friends. That's a classic.
Welcome back to 50 Years of Action News. When it comes to the weather, it is often the lighter side of the newscast. But as meteorologist Cecily Tynan shows us, Mother Nature likes to put on a show.
We have a tornado warning from violent storms to ice jams.
Mother Nature left some impressive calling cards.
Monster snowstorms to floods.
2 dams broke in Medford Lakes.
Nor'easters and hurricanes.
Gloria is getting closer.
We've covered it all.
The people here in Atlantic City are now taking this storm very seriously.
Hurricane Gloria was the big story in 1985.
It has the capability of being a killer storm.
Hurricane Floyd wreaked havoc in the fall of '99.
Every place you go, mountains of debris.
Then Irene unleashed her fury in 2011.
We had tornado warning after tornado warning after tornado warning.
Kathy Gandolfo went to Cape May County, her final storm before retiring.
We checked into this Highland Motor Inn. I gave the woman my card, and she said, well, I'll say you bye. And I said, oh, well, where are you going? She said, well, we're evacuated.
Our forecasting was pretty basic in the early days of Action News.
You remember years ago on the weekends, Rob Jennings just read the weather himself.
You would go to the 7-day board and you would literally have to find an 8 and a 9 in a drawer.
I didn't know you put the numbers on that board. I thought they just sort of appeared.
Those magnets drove me crazy because I had trouble keeping the numbers straight.
That shot from Chopper 6 really tells a tale.
Now we have lots of high-tech toys.
Storm Tracker 6 live radar.
And those storms we'll never forget.
The one that sticks in my mind is the ice storm.
For Melissa McGee, it's the winter of 2009 and 10.
2 weeks after I started, there was a huge snowstorm.
We had 40-something inches of snow within 5 days in Philadelphia, which was unprecedented.
The snowiest winter on record. It was quite the introduction to Action News.
Jim Sandy is moving ashore as we speak. Superstorm Sandy was the deadliest and most destructive.
It took a track that meteorologists have never saw with that left-hand hook.
I remember kind of the growing sense of dread.
All of these towns were underwater, houses that were picked up and moved.
When it comes to snow, the blizzard of '96 holds the all-time record.
That is quite a snowdrift.
Officially burying us in 30.7 inches.
How are you handling the situation?
It was 5 days solid. We were on the air almost 24 hours a day.
Well, I think that's when people count on us the most and what makes me the most proud.
Hey, Barbara Murphy, if you're listening, your husband wants electric socks.
I remember you. Who could forget the magnetic clouds? Made famous by Jim O'Brien, the most innately talented communicator I have ever known. We asked a few members of our Action News weather team to share the story of Jim's life and death and the man who faced the seemingly impossible task of following in his footsteps.
Jim O'Brien started his Philadelphia career at WFIL Radio.
Jim O'Brien. Yes,
Yes, indeed he do.
Morning DJ, who made the move to television.
Did you see that bad guy up there?
He was famous for his zany on-air antics and his clever clouds.
As a child growing up, it was fascinating.
And I know people tuned in every day to see what it was he'd write in that cloud.
He also hosted the Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Yo, we couldn't be liver, Dave.
And anchored the news.
Big cars are making a big comeback.
He was really, really good.
He was just vivid and real and authentic.
As the host of a new show called Primetime, his first assignment was a story on skydiving. And he fell in love with the thrill.
Our top story tonight is one that has devastated all of us here at Action News.
He died in 1983 while making his 814th jump.
He loved the sport. Now it has taken his life.
Boy, it was crushing. Front page of every newspaper.
For 6 months after that, people would stop me on the street and take my hand and say, "Oh, we're so sorry."
It made Dave's job of being Jim's successor extraordinarily difficult.
Dave Roberts came to WPVI in 1978 to host AM Philadelphia.
Yes, I am.
But his life was upended by the death of Jim O'Brien.
It was one of the most challenging things in my career.
And he did the smart thing. He was just himself.
Let's go to the map. He kept the magnetic clouds, but made them his own.
We're live on City Line Avenue.
And he became one of the most beloved members of the Action News family.
Dave Roberts is the nicest guy I've ever met.
I've got to tell you, this is my favorite guy at the station, next to Wally, of course.
That's good.
He wrote a personal note to every new employee at the station.
Maybe in some small way, I can make them feel good.
He'd experienced a similar kindness on his first day from Jim Gardner.
Saying, "Welcome, Dave. I'll see you later on this afternoon." And I still have that note.
Dave also kept the very last cloud that Jim O'Brien made.
Written only as Jim could spell the word brilliant.
A picture of Dave in his signature slicker with one of those iconic clouds now hangs in the weather office.
It's been a wonderful ride, and I'm so grateful.
And we are so grateful that Dave was part of our family and yours for nearly 40 years. The theme song and that Action News van when 50 years of Action News continues in a moment.
Action News, happy birthday on your 50th birthday. Joe Torres here at Channel 7 in New York. And long before I made it here, I spent 4 formative years at Channel 6 in Philadelphia, mostly at the Jersey Shore Bureau, if you remember, in Margate, covering anything and everything in Ocean County, Atlantic County, Cape May County, and occasionally Cumberland County as well. Down at the shore, remember those stories? Man, they were a lot of fun. And for those of you still in doubt, here's the headshot. That guy right there.
Now we check our Action News calendar for this Thursday morning. Information on health care, education, and job training will be available during a community health fair in North Philadelphia. Doors open at 6 this evening at the Dick School at 25th and Diamond. Health check this morning. Doctors say there is now no doubt that if you live longer, you can cut your cholesterol level. A Scottish study shows using medication such as Zocor combined with diet and exercise can reduce the overall death rate. The medical community has long operated on that belief.
Welcome back to 50 years of Action News. 2 of the most beloved members of the Action News family aren't even human. One is on 4 wheels, the other is a piece of music.
It starts off every newscast with a bang, and not just for you, the viewers, but also for us behind the anchor desk and the men and women in the newsroom.
As a news producer, there was nothing better to get your adrenaline going for a newscast than the 18 seconds of the Action News theme.
At the top of the newscast, when the theme song is playing, Jeanette is tapping her thumbs, and I'm playing the eardrums.
What makes the theme so special is that it's not just the big open and the pictures that kick off the newscast, it's the very 70s message that it shares at the end and one that guides everything we do at Action News.
Move closer to your world, my friend. Take a little bit of time.
The song is called Move Closer to Your World and was written specifically for Action News. We have the score hanging in our building. And if the powers that be at Action News have ever learned a single lesson, it's that you don't mess with that theme music.
In 1996, we thought, the song's 20, 25 years old, let's update it. We didn't change the music, we just made it a little bit more modern. We put it on the air, and people went nuts. Everyone hated it.
Oh my God, the phones rang endlessly. How dare you take the song? You put the song back.
And you would think that, who would notice that? Everyone noticed it. And by the next week it was gone.
Almost as iconic as the song is the Action News van.
There's that news van again.
It has been the star of a long-running series of commercials, which we will get into in a few minutes, and it may be more famous than a lot of the people on Action News.
People want to take a photo. They want to take a selfie with the van. And sometimes they want me in it too.
People are nuts about the van.
You walk around the car show and you're seeing all these different sports cars and elaborate vehicles, and then right in the corner somewhere you'll see the Action News van on display as well, and it would have just as many visitors, just as much as the Tesla over in the corner.
How does a news van get to be so popular that it gets its own display at the Philadelphia Auto Show? We think and hope it's because it has been there for you during good times and bad. When you see the Action News van, you know we are there to tell your story, share in your celebrations and sorrows, whoever you are and wherever you are.
I think people feel comfort, and that makes us feel really amazing. It feels like we're doing what we were called to do and what we are meant to do.
That theme song, Move Closer to Your World, is also our philosophy. One of our main missions here at Action News is and always has been not only to inform, but also to serve the community we cover. Sarah Bloomquist has that story.
It was November 2nd in South Philadelphia.
In the 1980s, Rob Jennings launched Crime Fighters,
A community service between police and our audience, and I did it for 13 years, and there were just shy of 200 arrests.
the practice of redlining. Visions shines a light on communities of color.
Welcome to Perspective New Jersey.
While our Perspective shows focused on issues in New Jersey and Delaware.
Ready here?
And of course, we love a parade.
Oh, everybody!
Last fall, we staged the 100th Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Here we go, kiddies!
And Dan Cuellar's Thanksgiving Eve preview package has become a decades-long holiday tradition.
This is a moment when we get to show our audience something happy, something good.
The station has made a commitment to numerous nonprofits.
You'll see us at the flower show and at the auto show.
Of course, we're here for the cars. We celebrate the holidays at City Hall.
Let's go!
Huddle up for high school football in the fall. I have with me Apollo. And when the weather turns warm, you'll find Cecily at the zoo with the forecast and a collection of creatures.
We always wait to see how far she's holding it out. That's the danger level, whether she thinks the animal is going to pee on her or not.
Every week, FYI Philly celebrates all the good things happening in the place we call home. I love ice cream. We MC galas galore.
It could be an awards banquet. It could be a retirement of a police officer. Those little things mean the world to our viewers.
And we speak to the region's youth.
If I can inspire them, that is one of our responsibilities.
25 years later, had people come up to me and say, remember when you spoke at Temple University?
Your generation is going to be among the most resilient.
While commencements have changed during COVID-19, our commitment has not.
Under these strange circumstances,
we all care deeply about our community and the people around us.
You have a microphone, you can use it and use it for good.
That's what you do in a community. You give back.
And you need to know we are proud to be such an integral part of the fabric of this community.
If the hostages are released and come here.
Our travels across the country and the world when 50 years of Action News comes right back.
Hi everyone, Kelly Ripa here. I just want to say how happy I am to be able to salute the Action News team on their 50th anniversary. I am a proud South Jersey native, and there wasn't a moment of my life that the Action News team was not a part of my day. Congratulations on your 50th anniversary. I cannot believe we are the same age.
The Knickerbockers. You got it? You don't got it. You got it? You don't got it. You don't got it.
All right, should we try to do this or not?
You do it.
Well, the Garden State Rotary Club is joining the fight against illiteracy. Oh, my.
Action News in Cherry Hill today is Rotary members presented the Camden County chapter.
I don't think we should continue. Welcome back to 50 years of Action News. In that time, we have traveled across the country and the world to bring the big stories back home. Brian Taff and Shari Williams look back at some of the big national and international stories.
The early years of Action News were a tumultuous time in the nation and the world. The Vietnam War dominated television screens, and President Nixon resigned under the weight of Watergate.
There's the president waving goodbye.
Iran took dozens of hostages at the American embassy in 1978.
If the hostages are released and come here.
Jim Gardner was in West Germany when they were released 444 days later.
The free Americans tonight. Here they are.
It was 2:30 this afternoon when a smiling, waving President Reagan emerged from that entrance and headed toward his bulletproof limousine parked at the corner.
Rob Jennings covered the attempted assassination of President Reagan in 1981.
87.
That same year, Jim O'Brien witnessed the first space shuttle launch at Cape Canaveral.
America's first space shuttle. The one glimpse of royalty and the whole mall burst with excitement.
Lisa Thomas Lowry reported from London, July 1981, as the world watched the royal wedding.
Sir Charles and Diana are now man and wife, and they head back to Buckingham Palace, where after their honeymoon, Charles will resume his duties as prince, his princess at his side.
Operation Desert Storm launched the first Gulf War with Iraq in 1991.
If they come under chemical attack, the entire complex can be sealed off.
It was nerve-wracking, if not terrifying, to be flying solo to the ground, worrying not just about falling victim to an RPG attack, but whether or not we were likely to hit something and crash. Ultimately, we landed safely.
Vernon Odom was in South Africa for the release of Nelson Mandela after 27 years in prison.
Mandela was the most famous political prisoner of that half of the 20th century, so it was incredible to go there and see him released from prison.
Kathy Gandolfo made several trips to the Vatican.
Cardinal Regali is now one of 135 eligible to vote in the next papal election.
Hurricane Katrina clobbered the Gulf Coast in 2005. Nydia Hahn and Chad Pradelli were in the disaster zone.
I'd only been here a short time and went down there for over a week, lived in a car.
The victims left in the dark here in New Orleans are not just the people we've met this week, but their pets as well. We can't save all the animals we see, but this tiny kitty we just cannot leave behind. We temporarily named her Katrina, of course.
Oh my God, what is going on here?
But the terror attacks of 9/11 were a story like none of us had ever covered before. Nora Mushanek watched from across the Hudson River as the Twin Towers collapsed.
You hear that the Pentagon is being attacked. You hear about the plane in Pennsylvania. I have chills just talking about it right now.
I remember standing outside City Hall, and the children from the schools are returning home, and one of them looked at me and said, "Is the world going to end?" And he was completely serious.
It didn't end the world, but it did forever change it.
It's Philadelphia. I got to hear from Jim.
Some of our favorite promos when 50 years of Action News continues in a moment.
I'm so honored that I was able to be a small part of the rich history of the legendary Action News. I'm proud to say I'm still on 6ABC, right here at ABC News, an early morning news anchor and correspondent covering major national and international stories for this network. I can say that I wouldn't be here without 6ABC, and I tell anyone who's willing to listen that I'm an alum of Action News. Happy 50th. I can hear the theme music right now. Dun, 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 dun.
77 degrees, partly sunny skies. There goes my earring. Wardrobe malfunction. One low off the coast, another one moving in on Thursday. That'll bring us another round of rain. I hope I didn't lose that. I really like that earring. So the exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast, it's down there. Tomorrow, drier areas northwest, rain across parts of South Jersey and Delaware. The high is 71 degrees.
get it?
Thank you. He's such a team player. That was like my favorite moment ever on Action News.
Welcome back to 50 Years of Action News. If there are 6 words most identified with Channel 6, they might be, "There goes that news van again." And it comes from one of the many memorable promos created by the Action News marketing team.
There's that news van again.
For 40 years, it's been quoted by people in the Delaware Valley like a line from a movie.
There goes that news van again.
The news van being everywhere is just iconic.
The legendary promo debuted in 1980. The original idea? A family vacation in Philadelphia. But each time they try to capture a home movie,
I got a great shot of that news van again.
The original spot was, there goes that news van again. And I think it has evolved through the years to there goes that Action News van again.
through the years, the campaign has taken the news van all over the place, including my personal favorite.
I don't believe my eyes.
The Action News van, and you hear the voices of the guys from NASA.
We've got a clean signal of the Martian surface.
And all of a sudden the van goes by.
There goes that Action News van again.
It's a message that's important to us. There goes that news van again. We are everywhere.
The most recent versions feature two mischievous teenagers turning the family minivan into the Action News van.
What the?
The success of There Goes That Action News Van Again raised the bar for the Action News marketing team.
I gotta hear from Jim.
I've always admired television promos that focus on an emotional response between the television station and the viewer.
You sound like Brian Taft.
What do you mean?
When they first approached me with that, it was a little jarring.
Me, Brian Taft.
Favorite Action News promo of all time. Jim Gardner and the late Gary Papa are sitting there and they're playing this video game. And they're talking about some new technology.
Is it fast?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they realize they're talking about the new Chopper 6 gyro cam.
Chopper 6 HD.
How many people would love to play a video game with Jim Gardner?
Hey, Rick Williams, Action News! Where's Monica?
That became one of my favorites because it was so true. She retired several months ago, but I still get it.
Oh my gosh, I love the Deuces Rogers promo.
Duckus Rogers? It's Deuces.
People stop me at least once a week to bring up that promo, which is flattering to say the least.
I guarantee you, after that promo, not one person ever got his name wrong again.
In the 1970s, sports guy Joe Pellegrino was pitched as a ladies' man.
Channel 6, Action News, Joe Pellegrino.
Gorgeous. He was a good-looking guy. They were all good-looking guys, you know?
Well, my wife liked the one with Lisa and me going house to house, saying it's 5 o'clock.
Mark and Lisa.
Come on in.
Thanks for having us over.
Consistently over 50 years, the station coming up with marketing campaigns that viewers could relate to, and it stuck in people's heads.
Come on!
I'm admittedly biased because I ended up marrying someone from our promotional department, but there is no television station in this country that does better promotional campaigns than this one.
Action News with Jim Gardner. He's got it.
Was just too young. So we want to hear from you. Head to our Action News Facebook page and let us know your favorite Action News commercial from over the years. And if you want to see more, just head to 6abc.com/actionnews50.
This is why this place is so special.
The Action News secret sauce when we come right back.
For 5 years, Action News Cruiser number 3 performed dutiful service.
Car 3 met a fiery end this afternoon. The vehicle sputtered to a stop and our photographer managed to maneuver the car off the road and deposit it on the grass off City Line Avenue where it exploded into flames. We are happy to say no one was hurt. And the car was on its last wheel anyway. But it was a touch embarrassing. We had no choice but to let the car burn on the grass in front of Channel 10. Perhaps they were enjoying themselves because Car 3, you see, was singularly responsible for beating Channel 10 on hundreds of news stories throughout the year. Welcome back to 50 Years of Action News. Our call letters are WPVI. The P stands for Philadelphia. The VI, that is 6 in Roman numerals. And as for Action News, technically it's the format we use for telling stories. But in a half-century of practice, it has become so much more.
Ask just about anyone here what makes Action News special.
It starts and stops with the people.
The same faces coming into your living room day after day, year after year.
Lisa and I co-anchored the news for 17 years.
Monica and I worked together for close to the 30 years I've been here.
Everyone knows that David, Karen, and Tam and I are all friends. We've been doing this together, the same 4 people on the same show for 15 years.
Action News is also the unsung heroes behind the scenes.
The producers, the camera guy, the stage director.
Oh, it would not work without them.
There's Rick Williams, the anchor, and Rick Williams, the executive producer, who's been at Action News since 1982.
I've been here 32 years.
I've been here for 28 years.
I started in June 1977.
If you added up all the years of experience, it's probably, thousands of years in there.
For some of us, Philadelphia is the adopted hometown.
When I walked in, I realized that it was home.
Many grew up here.
We always watched Action News. Everybody watches Action News, right?
On the portable television set with the antenna up on the roof.
Mike Niklowski was interviewed by Vernon Odom as a child. Now he's an Action News videographer.
I can't tell you how many times when I interview somebody, they literally tell me, this is my dream job. I am so nervous.
I was nervous, but my family was so excited.
Maggie Kent was so excited to be hired, she recorded her mom's reaction to the news.
It truly is a family, attending each other's weddings, helping raise each other's children, becoming good friends.
When my mom passed in 2009, I will never forget. Walter Perez showed up at my front door and he walked me to a tree that our Action News family members had planted in her memory.
It's people who care about the people that they're with. The family looks after family.
No one has been part of the Action News family longer than our friend John Caracciolo. He started at Action News in 1969.
What do we got going on here today?
Before it was Action News.
My father brought me in to work in the summertime as an audio technician.
His father was a cameraman at Channel 6, and John was just 15 years old.
I felt special.
He has been full-time since 1971.
This is my home. If I was going to work in television, I was going to work for Channel 6.
When the laws changed to allow photographers inside New Jersey courtrooms, John was the first one on the scene.
I'm proud of that. I'm in the Jersey law book.
When Tug McGraw covered sports for Action News in the 80s and 90s, John was his photographer.
I said, John, he says, 1's a fastball, 2's a curve, and he would put his fingers up and he said, 6 is television. Over the hose.
After a half-century on the job, he knows his career will soon come to a close.
Another fun day at Action News.
But he's not ready to say goodbye just yet.
I put in enough time, but I still like it. It's become part of my family and my family's family.
Christy, what did you find out?
And Jim Gardner is the patriarch of the Action News family.
And there were, the Walter Cronkites and the Peter Jennings, but I really believe in Philadelphia, you gotta hear it from Jim.
The 6 and 11 anchor since 1977.
I'm proud of my longevity. I'm proud even more so of the consistency.
His steady voice, his steady demeanor are what our viewers have come to expect.
He loves journalism. He writes most of his own show.
And he helps guide younger journalists on the staff.
There's nothing better than it coming out of a story and you get a smile or a laugh or a from Jim Gardner. You want him to be pleased with what you do.
When I sit next to Jim, you kind of want to make sure you're on your best behavior.
Because there's a lot to learn and a lot to respect.
I like that I've seen his softer side and his great sense of humor.
To the world, he's Jim Gardner. To my kids, he's Uncle Jim.
And to many of us,
Jim Gardner is Action News.
Very little brings me more pleasure than hearing someone say, my parents watch Action News, and I watch Action News, and my kids watch Action News. I take a lot of pride in that. My colleagues are far too kind. They have given me far more than I could ever give to them. Those of us who have been here a while have watched with a sense of wonderment as a new generation of journalists have brought their youth, their energy, their smarts, and their empathy to Action News. They are making us even better and continuing the Action News legacy. For the last 50 years, our mission, our purpose has been straightforward: to keep you informed of good news and bad in a way that continues to earn your trust, and to partner with you to cheer our varied tri-state area communities and make them even better. That will never change. That is our abiding promise to you. And if you need proof, just join us for the next show we do like this, 50 years from tonight. Mark it down. For Action News, I'm Jim Gardner.